We're east of the riverbed, and we're taking fire from the west. Roger, stand by, we're popping smoke.
The volume's good though on the mic?
Yeah, just do a quick test.
Yeah.
Sir, just say something to Manny, just casual.
What would you like me to say?
Do you recognize any of these photos in this room?
Well, they've always been here.
Since you got here?
Well, they've been here for a while, yeah.
Eric was able to point that photo out because that was presented when he got back from Bosnia in 94.
That was the 94 tour. That's when I got to Battalion.
Oh, really?
They were overseas when I got to Battalion.
Honestly, good.
We're good here?
Yeah.
So let's start with that. So, like, you got to Battalion in 94.
December 94.
How
so
old
this,
were you?
20. 20? 20. I just turned 20. Turned 20 that summer. Got here in, December 94.
So where did you grow up?
Northern Ontario.
And what's the area?
Born in Sudbury. Bounced around up north quite a bit growing up. Spent a bunch of time in Chapleau. And then Pet.
So what got you out of being up north?
The Army.
The military?
Yeah.
And, like, does everybody know about the Army up north? And
No, everybody.
the opportunities?
Well, at the time, yeah. I can't say now. I haven't been back up there freaking forever, but at the time. And back then, the recruiters were doing the traveling roadshow, so they came to the high school, they did the presentation, and then at the time, I'm like,
what were they talking about?
join the Army, trying to sell it, and then
Infantry too? Were they talking about
just
that?
everything, just whatever. Join the Army and doing their thing, and then at the time, I was like, yeah, try that.
Were you like in grade 12 at the time? Or like
No, it'd have been 12, 13. I forget if it was 12 or 13. No, 13, 12, 13.
yeah.
And then put my name in, went to Sudbury, did the recruiting thing at the recruiting center. And then,
Did you go Reg Force?
Yeah, there's no reserves, not where I was. Reserves, I was up in Chapleau, there was no reserves there.
I guess Sudbury's the closest reserves.
Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, Timmins, and North Bay.
And North Bay. Yeah. That's right. So what year was this when you got in again?
94.
In 94.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 94. You get into the military. Why did you want to go military, though? Did you have anything else in mind? What were you doing at the time, just in school?
Didn't want to go to school. Had enough of school with high school.
Yeah.
Like, that's enough of that. Just wanted a future. Wanted something to get me out of Chapleau. Did the Army.
Were you the first one to go from your family?
No, my grandfather was in World War II.
Okay.
And then had a cousin in cadets. And then, then me.
Right on. So you joined up in 94. Did you end up going to St. Jean?
Cornwallis.
Cornwallis.
Yeah, we were one of
All
the
right.
last crews for Cornwallis.
One of the last groups? Yeah. So what was that experience like?
At the time, unlike nothing I've ever done before. Looking back on it, it was, whatever.
Yeah, it's whatever.
But But at the time, it was pretty crazy at the time.
Were you thinking, like, man, I don't know if this is for me?
No, never crossed my mind. I enjoyed it.
You're like, this is just part of the program. You got to do this. Let's go.
No, it was fun. I grew up I did Boy Scouts growing up, so I kind of had that similarities.
Mm-hmm.
Cornwallis was a little bit harder than the Boy Scouts. Not too much, but a little bit. And then Cornwallis was, looking back on it, it was fun. Parts of it that kind of sucked, but
Make a lot of friends?
I made a few good friends, yeah. I wouldn't say a lot of friends, but I made a few friends.
Yeah, for sure.
So
at that
a
point,
long time ago too.
At that point, did you know anything about RCR, Patricia's?
Not a clue.
Nothing?
No, the recruiter. I tried to get in. My first three choices were naval weapons tech, crewman,
weapons.
crewman, and air defense were my three choices.
That is not infantry.
And then at the time, nothing, because they weren't hiring.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Back in the 90s, it was difficult to get in. And then I finally called them and said, I'll take anything. I'll take whatever you have. And they said, okay. And they called me a couple days later. How about the infantry, the RCR in Petawawa? I was like, who, what, where? Yeah, sure. And and I had family in Eganville, so I was coming down here constantly growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Never clicked in. I knew there was an Army base here. didn't know what was going on it. Obviously, we just drove by and see things happening, and that was about it. Yeah.
So you go through the training system. Now I guess you went to Petawawa for your battle school, or did you go to Meaford?
No, here.
Pet.
Yeah.
So now you're going through the system. You're exposed to, I guess, Royals at the first time.
Yep.
Or did you have infantry instructors in BMQ?
Combat engineer. No, we had one infantry. Our course warrant was an RCR guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get through your training. Do you have any idea where you want to go? Did you really care?
I was coming to PET.
Okay.
And, right from the get-go, I was coming to one RCR.
All right. So you get to 1 RCR now.
Yep.
What do you remember your first day?
Here?
Yeah.
Don't know. Man, that was a fucking long time ago.
What was your first day in 95 here?
Yeah.
95.
No, 94.
In 94.
94. 9th of December, 1994. That I know.
Where did you check in? Which company?
We were in Delta. We were rear party because the boys were on tour, so we all got put into Delta.
Back in the day when they had Delta.
Yeah. Kenny Miles was the platoon warrant. And then we had a sergeant. And I remember those two vividly. And then it was just a bunch of us, just a bunch of young, brand new privates. And cleared into the shacks. But to actually say, remember my first day, that's hard one.
Fuzzy? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get...
I've been in this building for quite a while.
But yeah, 1st Battalion's where you started. So you get to this building, you check in with Delta. So the battalion's deployed to Bosnia at this time. What are you doing with your career while you're in rear?
Here? Mm-hmm. Well, at the time, it's not really a career. We're just here in the Army.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a career yet. But no, we're just doing some courses. We did driver wheel. I think that was one of the first courses we did, driver wheel.
On the M111s?
No, just MLVW, LSVW, and ILTIS. Get that out of the way. Bunch of us go on to do Grizzly driver.
And Grizzlies were new back then, right?
No, Grizzlies were old.
Okay.
No, even at the time that we had guys whose fathers drove the Grizzlies when they were in.
No way.
So the Grizzlies were super old, even back then. Yeah, and then comms, just some basic courses. Basically, while we're waiting for the battalion to get back from overseas, and then they got back in the spring, March, April, I think. I think there was still snow on the ground when they got back. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah. So they get back. What happens then?
Pretty much we get into the big battalion reorg. Everybody goes to their companies. I got sent over to Charles.
Okay. Did they collapse Delta at this point?
Delta, I don't know if they officially collapsed it at that point, because Delta's been stood up and stood down a few times.
Okay.
And I don't know if it may have stood down. It may have stood down in that. We're talking 26 years ago here. And I was a private, so I wasn't paying too much attention to all that. So I was in Charles Company. But I know they stood Delta back up for our tour to Bosnia in '98. And was it set up for '98? I know it was set up for Kosovo. It was definitely stood up for Kosovo in 2000.
That's all good. So you get to Charles Company now.
Yeah.
And now what's going on with Charles? Are you guys preparing for tour at this point?
No, because it's we're just all brand new. They're just back from tour, so we're still talking '95, spring of '95.
And Bosnia was pretty much the only tour going on at that point.
Yeah, and their tour, because they did a UN tour, and then when we went over in '98, it was a NATO tour. So we went over with Green Berets, where they were on tour with the Blue Berets. So it was a completely different tour than when they were over in '94.
And you're saying, so you went in '98?
'98.
So I guess MW Leclerc ended up deploying with you on that one?
Yeah.
In '98?
Yeah. He was in a different company, though. Me and him, we worked together a bit in Recce, but that's about it. But I've known... No, was he in Charles? Yeah, he was in Charles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was in Charles. Friggin', yeah, he was one of the other platoons. Yeah, we had a lot of characters in Charles Company, too, back then.
Yeah. What comes to mind? Like, who comes to mind?
Oh, so just a bunch of different people that I've crossed paths with throughout my career.
I remember Jeremy LeBlanc mentioning a shotgun Ronnie.
No,
No?
no, doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah. When you say these guys are like characters in the battalion, what was it about them? The personalities?
Yeah.
Did they just make being a battalion more lively?
Well, that's the big thing too, and you know, I don't want to get too into specifics, but I don't know. It's all part of, how would you say it? The culture of the family.
Like the tribe?
Yeah, but you got your characters. You know, some guys are just, you know, loud and funny and bring the room alive. Some guys are just right out of her, and you'd rather do without sometimes. And then they just, how would you say it? They bring that dynamic to the culture, to the family, to the building. Yeah.
I think that's important. You know, when
Yeah.
everybody has some
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah,
flavor or personality to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Keeps it interesting, especially when things aren't interesting.
And from back then to now, it's the same. Like you still got your different. We're such a diverse crew, a diverse crowd, and we all come from different backgrounds. Everybody brings their own thing to the table, for lack of a better word.
I agree.
And their own experiences, and you know.
Considering from when I joined, growing up in like Toronto, which is very diverse, I came through with the reserves.
Yep.
So I saw a lot of different cultures of people joining the military and stuff. And now coming to battalion in 2021, you already see a lot of different people coming in from different backgrounds, which I guess has changed a lot more over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about your background? What is it? Are you like any kind of particular ethnicity or anything like that?
I've never. I just grew up Canadian.
Yeah.
My grandma had a little bit of Portuguese. I think that's where I get the color in the hair from. I've had people guess what my ethnicity was, wrongly most of the time. But yeah, so she was a bit of Portuguese. She's a Canadian. Grandfather German. My dad French and Irish. So you know, a healthy mix. But we never grew up. You know, I never really grew up ethnic. Like I grew up Canadian.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like there was no, you know, it wasn't German food on the table because of my grandfather or nothing like that. You know, my grandma would speak French when somebody French was around, but we never learned French in the house.
Okay.
Sort of thing, right? But if somebody was around that was French, she'd have a chance to speak French with them. But yeah, so you know, my dad was a trapper. My folks split when I was young, and same thing. But like even with him, I'd say I grew up Canadian. Like, I don't know how else to describe it.
Oh, that's cool. So you grew up very connected with the outdoors?
Yeah.
Were you into trapping as well and hunting?
Yeah. Did
Wow.
all that with my dad. Yeah, and through Boy Scouts.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So when they asked me if I wanted to, you know, join the infantry, I'm like, well, what the hell's that? And they're like, you like camping? I'm like, yeah. One of those guys. So.
Yeah, just
But at the
naturally
time,
fit right in.
Yeah, I'd take anything at the time. I just wanted a way out of town. I just wanted a future.
Yeah, fair enough.
So without going to school and racking up, you know, buttloads of
Student debt and something that you weren't too sure about.
Yeah.
For sure. So you go on your first deployment. You're in Bosnia. It's 1998.
Yeah. I'm a grizzly driver. I'm a private.
You're a grizzly driver and you're a private.
No hook private.
A no-hook
Like
private.
that. And I was driving the platoon headquarters boat for 3-3.
And what was that like?
It was fun. It was fun. Enjoyed it. Yeah.
How long was that tour?
6 months. 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, I've never done anything. I've always done the 6 month tours. Some have been a little bit longer. You know, the first in last out stuff, but yeah, they've all been 6 month tours.
So after that deployment, where was your head at towards the military? Did you like it? Did you want to continue?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I never disliked the Army. I never disliked the military. I've disliked people in the military.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. Yeah, I've never not liked being in the Army. Army was easy. Army's always been easy.
Yeah. Like, once you understand how the organization is, you can stop getting mad at it. Because I find, like, a lot of people, they direct their frustration towards the organization. But, like, we all know the Army's the Army. And so I figure once you accept that, it's a little bit easier on the soul. And you can just focus on the things you can control.
No, that's life in general.
That's life in general, yeah. So, you plan to stick around. It's, where are you at now? Did you get your hook while you were in Bosnia?
Right at the end of the tour.
Nice.
We were either still there or just got back-ish. Yeah.
So where did life take you after that?
I'm trying to remember. It was 97, spring of 97. We got our hook. We got back from tour. Had a bunch of guys on tour threatening to get out, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, well, if you stay, we'll give you a recce platoon. And they're like, I'm still getting out. So they had a bunch of spots open for recce platoon. I got one of them, I guess, by default, because I was still around. Went over to recce. Then the Coyotes came in. I did Coyote Gunner, basic recce. And then we did wintertime. Yeah, then I did basic sniper the next summer, 99. And then we headed over to Kosovo in 2000.
So once you did your sniper course, did you move into sniper platoon?
Well, there wasn't a sniper. It was a section at the time. So, and there really wasn't a section before the course. They were super low on number. And that's been a struggle with the snipers the entire time. Not having enough. And there's never been enough snipers to fully and properly man, whether it was a sniper section, a sniper platoon. It's been very difficult to man and to keep manned. Just the nature of the beast. And the way we were doing things. And yeah, I can't say how we're doing things now because I've been detached for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, did the course, passed the course. And then we basically stood up a sniper section with you know, the two other young guys. Well, I shouldn't say young. Nobody was really young at the time. But the two guys that were in battalion that were corporals that were qualified from before, and then a bunch of us, or a few of us that just graduated the course. So we basically stood up a sniper section, which I was fortunate enough to be part of. Then we went from there.
What did you find the course challenging?
Yeah. I'll never say it wasn't challenging. The course is very difficult.
More mentally or physically?
Mentally. It's a head game. The whole course is a head game.
What would you say to somebody, like, if you had a private who was interested in how could they prepare for it?
Good luck. How do you prepare for it? I don't know how you prepare for it. I honestly don't. Listen, do what you're told, get on a pre-course, listen to the guys that have done it, and just take it day by day. That's it. There's really nothing you can do to prepare for it. Other than doing, that's why we have the pre-course. Other than doing the exercises, the stocks, the observations, and then the course will teach you everything you have to know, but it's just it's I won't say it's all luck. There is some luck.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way things align. But really, is there any luck, or is it just you just did the right thing at the right time and got away with it? You may have rolled the dice on something and it worked. Is it luck, or is it just the way it's supposed to be? I don't know.
At that point, were you a corporal?
No, I was still a private when I did the sniper course.
And then you were lucky enough to get a spot over there and move your kid over.
Yeah.
And what was that like, going from a rifle... you went from rifle company to recce platoon.
Yeah.
And then
so I had a bit of the transition.
Yeah, what's that like?
What do you mean, go from rifle company to across the hall?
Do you find a difference in terms of the vibe and the mentality in each one of those organizations? Or at least from the rifle company to the recce platoons?
Yes. And
how would you describe that?
See, but generally speaking, you shouldn't be going across the hall unless you're ready to.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying it's always like that, but and I've always been a big believer in, and this is the one thing that killed me when they got rid of all the support platoons, when they got rid of Pioneers and anti-armor, because at one time there was a place for everybody in battalion. So regardless of what you wanted to do, what you wanted to get out of it, what your aptitudes were, there was a place for you to exist. And certain platoons were made up of, well, all the platoons were made up of like-minded people, for lack of a better terms. So if you were, like for Pioneers example, stereotypically they were the guys that lifted the heavy weights. They were the big guys, the barrel-chested guys, the farmers, the guys that were just brick shit houses and that worked hard. Stereotypically, they went to Pioneers. If you had a young guy in a rifle company and he was, barrel chested and he was always in the gym lifting like all the weights, not just a couple of them, chances are he'd be in Pioneers before too long. The smarter guys, the more intellectual guys would end up in anti-armor. With the AFE recognition and the stuff that they were into. It's just a type of person, Mortars had a certain type of individual, and same thing as Recce. Recce was more physically fit guys that were adept in the bush. And then from them, that the snipers took from Recce platoon. Like that's where snipers were.
They would pull from.
Because one of the prereqs for sniper is basic Recce, and throughout my career as a sniper, that's where we'd go looking for guys. We'd pay attention.
It's a logical talent pool, though.
Yeah,
because people have done a lot of work just to get to there.
And the problem with it was, though, and I'm sure it still is, and especially when CSOR stood up, is you're talking about the more physically fit guys in battalion, relatively intelligent, not necessarily the smartest guys in battalion, but relatively intelligent. You got to be to do the job. Especially Recce, because you got a whole bunch of stuff that you're responsible for. But generally, those are the guys that wanted to go to the Hill, and when CSOR stood up, wanted to go to CSOR. So we lost we were constantly losing guys to the special forces, I guess, to the Hill and CSOR. Couple to the Sartex, but not too many. But we did those guys every now and then to Sartex.
I like how you said that, though, that when we had all those different capabilities in the battalion, it kind of gave people more options, or for the battalion more options to harness the talents of the people that filled its ranks.
It gave the commanding officers a lot of options,
Yeah.
especially when we're deployed, either on exercise or operation. Because he had those assets in his back pocket, and he didn't have to call higher, and they were his. They were battalion assets, and all the capabilities he had.
Yeah.
Smaller than brigade level, but he still was able to do certain things in a pinch and let the brigade assets do their thing. And then when we needed bigger assets, then it was
Right.
call them up, but. And then that's if brigade was going to let them use them for a bit, and it gave everybody a place to everybody had a place to fit. Everybody had a place to exist in battalion.
And I think that's important because sometimes what I find now, it's either you're in the rifle company or you're in Recce.
Well, that's it. You had Recce, SIGs, and rifle companies, and then sort of with Recce or from Recce, you had the snipers. So, but the other guys, some people love the rifle company. Some people belong in a rifle company. Some people should never leave a rifle company. Some people are quite content there, and there's nothing wrong with that. Rifle company is a great place to be. All the time I've spent, I've enjoyed it, and I've been in a rifle company at pretty much every rank level. And I love it. But they've also decided to employ me with snipers for a good majority of my career, and I enjoyed that too. And it's two completely different jobs. But I was fortunate. They didn't get rid of the support platoon that I belonged to. So
How long did you spend in snipers?
I got there in '99, and Left there a couple times. I think it'd be the easiest way to say it.
For career advancement, in and out?
Yeah, and 99, I got promoted and posted over to 3 RCR in 2003.
As a corporal?
Master Corporal.
Master corporal.
Yeah, shortly after the sniper course, I got promoted to corporal. Yeah, so shortly after the sniper course, I got promoted to corporal. But I did the course as a private.
As a private.
Senior private.
So now you're a master corporal, you're promoted
Over
and
to 3
posted to
RCR.
3.
Yeah,
What position?
as company, Section 2 IC.
Section 2 IC.
Yeah.
Which company?
/ acting section commander because the sergeant was gone on course. So I get there in March to November company. I think 6, yeah, 6 platoon. Yeah, and then we go to Wainwright. Actually, before Wainwright, it was PR season, so I'm writing PRs and PDRs for guys that have no fucking clue who they are. Brand new to the company, brand new to the battalion, no idea who these guys are. PRs are due, trying to get that shit out of the way. Go to Wainwright, like I said, acting section commander. So I'm brand new master corporal. Fucking over to Wainwright, do Wainwright, had a blast.
And at this point, Afghanistan's going on.
So in Wainwright, at 3 RCR, we went over there. We went to Wainwright. We ran the ranges for 1 RCR, and then once we were done the ranges for 1 RCR, we ran ourselves through the workup training to go overseas on Roto Zero for the tour to Kabul. So that was our workup training for tour. Was after we were done running ranges for 1, which was actually the first time I was in a LAV, is when I left here and went over to 3. Just we didn't have any labs with the snipers. I seen them in battalion. I stayed away from them as much as I could, and I did.
So you were in snipers when the battalion got LAV 3s?
Yes. Yeah. So we did we got the Coyotes, did the Coyote Gunner, Recce, then I did snipers. The LAV 3s came in. We went on tour in 2000 with the Coyotes came over, but the rest of us.
Where did you go in 2000?
Kosovo.
Kosovo.
Recce took the Coyotes over with the RCDs. The RCDs had the ones with the masts. 1 RCR Recce had their Coyotes. I was in snipers. We had a Grizzly that we drove around in. The rest of the battalion had Grizzlies. Pretty much get back from that around 2001, 2002. The labs start coming in. And then in 03, I got promoted and posted over there. So I managed to stay out of the lab. Physically, I stayed out. I looked in the back of one when I was getting out. I stayed out of the lab while I was here. And then in Wainwright, we're doing safety stuff, running the ranges.
Yeah.
It was the first time I was in a lab.
Okay.
With 3 RCR.
So what did you know about Afghanistan at that time?
After Kosovo, getting ready for Afghanistan, not much really. No more than anybody else, I think. Just 9/11 happened. Going to Afghanistan.
What year did you end up deploying?
03.
In 03? Okay. Were you there also with MWO Leclerc?
I don't think so.
No, sorry, he went in 05.
Yeah, because every time I went over, it was with 3 RCR. So I've been over twice with 3 RCR both times.
And what was that experience like now?
The first one, Roto Zero was nuts because we were in Kabul. We were driving around in Iltises. We don't really know what's going on because it's new to everybody. Yeah. And then, we had a couple guys get blown up
In 03?
in 03.
Was it IEDs?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if it was IEDs or legacy mines. So I don't know. I've never seen the reports personally. I don't know what it was, so I can only speculate.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, and same thing. I've never been to the location, so I can only speculate. But from what I understand, it was more rural area. We had the one guy, the suicide bomber, near the end of the tour, that killed Murphy. But the other 2.
Who was Murphy?
one of the Warrant Officer guys that got blown up.
Was he, what was his rank?
Private or corporal? Corporal? I think it was corporal.
Corporal Murphy?
Yeah, I should know that off the top of my head.
So a suicide, can you tell us the story what happened? Do you remember?
From what I know of it, same thing, speculation. They were driving the Iltis, and he's playing with his camera. See, now I'm going to screw up the recording.
You move back a bit. So I gotta refocus.
Well, I can
It's
come
all
forward.
good.
Yeah, it was Brandon Murphy. I'm pretty sure is who it was, if I remember correctly. Fuck, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, he was one RCR guy. The other two, Baronfinger and Shorty, they were three RCR guys in the Iltis, and they got blown up. I think it was a legacy mine. And then Murphy, it was a fucking suicide bomber. I think, from what I understood, what I heard, and same thing, speculation. I haven't seen the reports. It was just from what we got afterwards. Buddy basically had a mortar bomb strapped around his neck. Ran up in front of the Iltis. The Iltis was slowing down for a speed bump, and basically came up to the front of the Iltis and detonated himself. Murph got some shit, I think, through his throat, which pretty much took care of that. The platoon commander got some shit to his face, and I know Faco got some good injuries. I don't remember what the other guys in the vehicle. I don't know if they got anything or not. 'Cause there's some weird shit that happens when fucking people get blown up.
Yeah.
Some guys walk away without a scratch, and other guys are in pieces. It's
So these are like the first casualties
yeah.
that have happened, at least for the RCRs. I think
Yeah,
at that
the
point, 'cause
Patricias had, I think, and their big one was the Friendly Fire,
the Tarnac Farm.
and I think that was really all they had initially.
Up until that point, I think so. Because I think that was an 02.
Yeah, it was just before we went over, when they were over on Op Anaconda, I think, out of Kandahar, actually. Yeah, and they were on the range fucking training, and then fucking the Friendly Fire dropped some fucking bombs on them.
So like when those guys got, I guess, like killed in those explosions.
Yeah.
When you found out about that, did that at all make you feel or think a type of way about what you were doing out there?
No. Made it real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it made it real. I never second guessed what I was doing. Yeah.
Okay. So that deployment, any kind of lessons learned from that kind of deployment? Anything to take away from there that you brought back home with you?
Oh, fuck, I've been learning shit my entire career. Yeah.
Anything that stands out on that one?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Do your job.
Do your
Basics.
job. Yeah.
Bosnia, the big one from Bosnia and Kosovo, watch where you step. And that carried with me throughout my entire, all my tours.
Going from one mine-riddled country to another one.
Well, that was it, right? Yeah, watch where you step. And be proficient with the basics. You know, at the end of the day, there'll always be somebody better, and it doesn't matter as long as you're doing the best you can at the time, and be good at the basics and understand the basics. And that's the nice thing about the infantry is you just got to be good at the basics, and that gets you through like everything, almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, home life's a little bit different than that, more complicated, but that's why the Army's easy. It's simple. Yeah.
Did you have a family at home while you were on
Yep.
these deployments? Like wife and kids kind of deal?
Well, yeah, the first one, the girlfriend who became the wife,
Mm-hmm.
and then became the family.
Did you have a family on both those deployments?
The Afghanistan deployments, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, the wife, basically at the time, the ex-wife now was the girlfriend in 98, common law wife in 2000. And then we got pregnant with our first child, so I had the first tour. I had my first child, and my second child was actually born while I was on tour. I got home a day late for the birth, and then my third tour, I had the third child by then. So the last tour I had 3 kids. So.
Is it hard being a dad on deployment?
How would you answer that? He's shaking his head yes. To me, it was no harder being a dad on deployment than it was being a dad here, if that makes any sense to you. Like I said, Army was easy. Being a father, being a dad, a husband, that to me, that was the hard part. Yeah. I challenge anybody to say otherwise. Army's shit's easy. It's simple. One foot in front of the other. And do what you're told. Yeah. The family life, the home life, that to me, that's the challenge. That's I don't know. There's a lot more we could be doing to figure it out.
Do you have a way that you like to balance everything with work and home life?
Yeah, I always did. I can't say no. Leave work at work the best you can. And when you're home, try to be present with your loved ones. Yeah.
Was it hard for you in the beginning? Did you get better at it over time?
Well, she's my ex-wife, so
Yeah. Fair enough.
I learned some stuff. She learned some stuff. We started out young, though.
Yeah.
We grew up different paths.
Yeah.
Basically, what happened. No, we don't hate each other or nothing like that. We just, yeah. As we grew up, we just, we weren't right for each other. And we did the respectable thing, and for sake of the kids, we tried to make it last as long as we could. But it wasn't getting any better.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So you're done your first deployment to Afghanistan.
Yep.
What's going on with life in your career at that point? You have your second kid at this point?
Yep. Second kid. Work. It's easy. Just doing my thing.
At 3RCR still?
Yeah, 3RCR.
Any postings going on at this point?
Nope.
Is the Army asking you, hey,
Nope.
what do you want to do at this point?
Nope. Just let me do my thing. Keep me
Okay.
busy.
And you were still in November at this point?
No, after 2, we went back to snipers.
At 3.
At 3. We started... yeah, and that was right about the time after Roto Zero. We started getting a little bit more light on the sniper community.
What do you mean? More light on the sniper community?
More focus from higher, I guess. More support overall. Sort of instead of just, pushed over to the side.
Okay, you guys are being valued more?
They saw what the snipers could do. I was in the rifle company for the tour. The guys that were in the sniper, there's still a section at the time, sniper section at the time for Roto 0 and 03. 1RCR, the guys here were doing a lot of good things. The 3RCR guys were doing a lot of good things. People are taking notice. We managed to basically get, or as a community, not, but the sniper community, through efforts of the Cell Engage Town and efforts throughout the community. We ended up to go from a 7-man section in Recce platoon to a 18-man sniper platoon in the battalion. So we got the separation. And that was pretty much CF-wide. So initially, when I was at 1 here, we detached from Recce pretty early. When I got to 3, after the tour, they were still part of Recce. We detached shortly thereafter. And I can't say exact timelines when the Patricias and the Bandus started their separations, but roughly around the same time. And the community at large, we managed to make that happen and getting it written into doctrine for an 18-man platoon in battalion, not part of a direct part of Recce platoon. Still worked with Recce platoon very closely, but not in Recce platoon.
Yeah, because I guess they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
With information collection on the battlefield, especially. So with regards to your career at this point, you're at 3rd Battalion, a Jack and Snipers. The role you get given at that point is what? A detachment 2AC?
Well, yeah, at that time, yeah. Deck commander was a relatively new thing at the time. I was on actually the pilot course for deck commander down in Gagetown. But yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
And I guess you were loving like your role over there at Snipers.
Well, that's where they kept me. I enjoyed it. I had no complaints.
But you have the type of personality, I think, that you don't mind wherever they send you.
Yeah,
You just make the best of it.
Wherever I am, that's what I'm going to do and enjoy it.
That's awesome.
My best.
It's like I gotta know you as well as some other folks out there, but when I got to Battalion, you were Sergeant Major of Charles, and I just remember a lot of the guys like being, I don't know if thankful is the right word, but they're very grateful to have you as a Sergeant Major and seeing you walk in and humping like the C-16s, bringing in just like the rest of the guys, just down out, just doing what needs to be done with us. There's a lot of respect in that. I appreciate that. But going back to your story here, so you finish that deployment, you come to 3rd Battalion, you do your DET pilot course, and then where does your career go from there? Are you guys gearing up for another tour at this point?
No, we went over in 08. No, not really. So 03, get back 04, 05, 06.
Okay, so you didn't go when RCR went for Op Medusa,
No.
But was that the first time the battalion was getting into battle? Or the RCR, I should say.
Yeah, I think Medusa was the first really squirrely one, and one RCR had a rough tour that tour. They lost a lot of good guys, and a lot of crazy shit happened on that tour. So we were just hearing about, hearing about it in 06. We were hearing about it, here in the news and whatnot, and through the chain. All the news coming out and back, and guys getting killed and blown up, and
Is that making you think or feel a type of way while you're back here and that's happening?
What do you mean? No.
It wasn't like you were worried to go back
No.
or anything like that?
It's never been. No.
Okay. So then 308 is the next deployment you went on?
Yeah.
So that's with 3rd Battalion. What was your role and position in that?
Back to a rifle company, but basically a deck commander. So we had 4 of us in the member company, a little sniper det doing our thing for the member company.
Okay, so you were a sniper detached to a rifle company?
Yeah.
All right. So now you're working for the OC.
Yep.
And what was that experience like now?
Oh, that was a good tour. Rough tour, long tour, but I had a lot of fun on that tour too.
Is that your first time being in combat?
Yeah, that would have been, yeah.
What was that like?
I don't know. How would you describe it? Finally having a chance to do your job, for real. Like the other two, well, that's what all the tours have been. They've been checks and validations, right? My first tour, I was a grizzly driver. I was a grizzly driver overseas. I did my job, part of a peacekeeping mission. And then my last tour, I was on a peacemaking mission. And yeah, just validation, really.
While you're over there on 308, is there any kind of notable memories that come to mind?
Oh, there's freaking too many to mention. Yeah.
Anything that you wouldn't mind sharing, especially for like that's worth educational for the guys listening?
Same thing it's always been. Just be good at the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Be good at the basics.
And you saw that really getting that being a big factor in how successful we were on 308? Hammering the basics in the prep training?
Well, no. What do you mean? What do you mean how successful we were?
In terms of all the preparation that was done, was it just hammering out the basics and then going overseas just made the job a lot easier?
You're asking me a weird question. I'm not sure how to answer that. How would you say that? So, everybody, let's try this. For me, the basics have always been important. Being good at the basics, whether it's map and compass, for example, basic navigation. Let's talk about that for a second. So basic navigation, we got all sorts of awesome aids, and they're even getting better and better as time goes on. Like I got a Garmin watch too, and I love the damn thing, and it's the best GPS that I've owned, and it's a sizable watch. Like the things are awesome now that we have. We didn't have that back then. You know, the old clunky Fortrexes were like high tech back then. You know, we're talking about 12, 13 years ago. But even then, to use a GPS, if you don't understand how to navigate with a map and a compass, or even just how to navigate with a map and read a map and know what contour lines mean and how to read, you know, water features and all the other stuff, you can have all the technology you want. Technology is always going to fail, and if you have nothing to back it up on, or to even if your technology is working, but if you start doubting things and you don't have nothing to refer it to, you know, then you're going to be pooched. Like if you can't tell where north is without a GPS, you know, pointing you in the right direction, and you have no idea where north is or can't tell where north is, you're going to end up lost anyways, no matter what you got for technology. So that's what I mean by being good at the basics. You know, communication, knowing how to talk on a radio, that's a skill. You know, most of us can talk. A lot of us, you know, can't make a lot of sense. I have a hard time making sense when I speak sometimes too. But it really matters on the radio, and it really matters when shit's going sideways, when you know, contact's happening, or you know, there's something going on. You know, a call sign gets lost, and then you know the OCs, the platoon's trying to figure out what that sub call sign's doing, and the next thing you know, there's so much chatter on the radio. It's just noise and confusion, and everybody's because people aren't taking the time to communicate effectively. But if you know, breathe for a second, think about what you want to say, send your message, and then it goes into the guys if it has to be relayed. That's always fun. You know, but if people aren't good at the basics, then shit goes sideways fast. But if they understand how to communicate, how to talk on a radio, how to use, you know, the proper words at the proper time, shit becomes so much clearer and easier. And if you have a clear picture, it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just confusion, then it's a shit show. And you've seen both. I know you've seen both. You've been around long enough to see guys that just spin out of control because it's just fucking hysteria. And you've seen guys that can just handle the hysteria masterfully, and they love it. They thrive in chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But to thrive in chaos, you have to be good at the basics. And if you're good and confident with the basics, then there's nothing that can be thrown at you that throws you off. It's just another challenge, if that makes sense.
No, that's really well said.
So, trying.
Did anybody instill that into you about the basics, or is that something you kind of just put it together yourself?
I've been lucky enough to work for a lot of really great people throughout my career. I've worked with, I've been fortunate to work with a lot of really great people.
Who's like one of the notable role models that comes to mind?
That's a good question. See, and I want to be careful, and I don't want to name too many names, just because of where certain individuals have worked, and what we did. I know not everybody wants to be identified in certain ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, fair enough to me.
Because, you know, a lot of people, like I said, you know, we were a feeding ground for
Other organizations?
and you know, I stayed in the battalion. I never tried to go to the hill or to Seesaw.
Why?
I was happy in battalion. I was content. I enjoyed it. And, you know, I had a young family, and I wanted to be around as much as I could for my family. And I know those guys were busier than we were, and we were busy enough. We were always gone or always doing something on course or Gagetown or down to the States, and it was nonstop as it was. And I knew that if I would have went to one of the other places, then I'd have been even busier. And I wanted to focus on the family. So.
No, fair enough.
And I enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved being a battalion. There was nothing. I never felt a need to leave. Yeah.
I love to ask this question because I feel like the whole concept of role models is important to soldiers and just to people in general. Having a person or even a group of different kinds of people to emulate, like different kind of hero archetypes, if you will. So knowing that pretty much everybody at some point or another was influenced by somebody that they wanted to be like, it's a big part of just being in the military. So from what you're saying, a lot of the folks who've influenced you, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them worked in the Special Forces community and other kind of roles and stuff like that.
Yeah. The majority of the people that I looked up to as a young soldier, fuck me. Yeah, a lot of the guys I looked up to, pretty much all of them were the snipers. Just something that just clicked with me. Even before I was even, I never even asked for the sniper course. I never tried. I never tried out for it. It was, hey, do you want to go do it? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll try anything.
So without naming role models, what is it about the character or the qualities of these role models?
It goes back to the basics. They were all like they you know, they were proficient. They were proficient in what they did, and yeah, just
so like it's
they
like
were
a
good
good
at what they did, and on that though, they were good people too. They weren't arrogant. They weren't cocky, because you know I've known a lot of people, but you're saying about, you know, the role models and people that you want to emulate. You also come across the people that you learn the other lessons from.
Yes.
I don't want to be like that guy. I don't want to carry myself in that way. I don't want to, you know, talk about myself like that. You know, I don't want to be, you know, come across into a room and be, you know, the cocky guy. It's okay to be cocky, but not the arrogant guy belittling other soldiers just to make myself feel good. You know, I don't want to be the bully. I don't want to be whatever, you know, I want to be a decent person, you know, and I want to, like I said, do my best, do the best that I can where I am with what I got, and go from there. Yeah, and I've had a lot of positive role models, a lot of really positive. The majority of them have been snipers, not all of them, but the majority have been snipers. I've learned, you know, I can honestly say everybody that I've met throughout my career has taught me something. And that's like from everybody that I've met, like all the officers, the privates, even today. You know, I've learned something. If you just take the time, they're going to teach you something, and it may be completely irrelevant to the task at hand, but everybody has something that they can teach you. You know, whether it's something that they enjoy, a skill set that they have, you know, something that they're interested in. You know, we're like we talked about earlier, we're such a diverse background and a diverse group of people that everybody's into something different, and there's a lot of people that you'd be surprised of what they're passionate about. And you're like, holy fuck, and it's like, wow, you know, that a lot of the guys blow your mind when you actually spend the time and listen and pay attention to what they have to say.
So what kind of stuff are you passionate about?
Not much.
That's a cut.
Yeah, I don't know. Different things. I just, whatever shit that makes me happy. But I don't like talking about myself. You know, I'm sure you can figure that out.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm piecing that together. I'm just trying to pull it apart, though. Is there any kind of hobbies that you enjoy doing that kind of help keep you...
Just keep me sane?
Keep you sane.
Yeah. Mountain biking. I've been mountain biking since I was super young, and I got back into it after this summer. I spent a lot of time on the mountain bike.
Oh, that's awesome. Around here?
No, well, down in Kingston.
Kingston, yeah.
We got some good trails down there. Just to keep me busy, keep me fit, or keep me active. I can't say it's been keeping me super fit.
Were you ever into archery?
I've done archery, compound bow. That's fun. That's relaxing. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I picked that up when I was up in Sudbury, actually. Went up to Sudbury.
Nice.
Started hunting again, really, when I was up in Sudbury. I hunted more in Sudbury in the first year that I was up there than I did in my 18 years that I was in PET before I went up there. yeah, linked up with one of the guys that was up there working RSS, one of the dudes I met in Recce Platoon. He was up there, and he got me into hunting again and got me into archery, and we spent a lot of time in the bush together.
That's awesome.
It was nice. Yeah, and I wanted to try. I want to try something different. I like trying different things, right?
Yeah,
something, you know, yeah, I can shoot a gun. You know, yay. Yeah, who cares, right? Let's try something new. Let's grab a bow and see what that's like. So figured that out and enjoyed that. Yeah.
That's awesome. I just got into archery recently myself. The idea was to get into hunting was the end state of it.
And the thing about it, you extend your season. So even if you are rifle hunting, but because you can usually hunt prior to, and then after rifle season, so you double your hunt season.
It's definitely very challenging because you got to get closer. But yeah, it's awesome. I just enjoy the whole process of practicing. Yep. I'm not very good. It's only been 2.5 weeks, but I just enjoy just applying everything we learn about shooting and being able to do it in my basement without having to wake up the neighbors or anything. It's very relaxing. But going back to this, like your career here. So after 308, where did your career go after that?
308. So I got back to snipers after the tour. Became unit master sniper for a few years. Did that. So we got back in 9, so 10, 11, and then in 12 I went up to Sudbury for 5 years working
For your
standards.
RSS?
Yeah, working standards, working for Meaford.
Now, did you want that?
Yeah, because they asked me shortly after the tour. You know,
And you're a warrant officer at this point?
when I went up to Sudbury, I was. They asked me as a sergeant. You know, their career manager at the time was, you know, you're going to be a warrant soon. Do your time at battalion, and then we're going to have to look at posting you. Where would you like to go? I said Sudbury. He was like, really? We've been looking for somebody that wants to go there. I'm like, yeah. So lucked into that. They sent me there, which was good for the wife and the family at the time. We're from Northern Ontario. Her sister was there, so brought her closer to home.
Mm-hmm.
She's still there. It's home for her and the kids now. So that all worked out as best it could. Yeah.
So then from Sudbury, is that when you ended up back at 1 RCR?
No, after Sudbury, back down to 3.
Back down to 3.
Couple
And what
years.
role?
CQ.
A CQ?
A couple roles in couple years, sorry, a CQ in the Oscar Company,
For Oscar, okay.
and then promoted and posted.
Sergeant Major here
Yeah,
at Charles.
back here.
Were you 2019 Oplentis?
Yeah.
Okay, so I deployed to Charles with you.
Yep.
I think I was with Warren Pinto, who got pulled from Bravo to fill in. That was a good time, a good experience. That was my first time working with Charles, and yeah, good times. So you come to battalion, you're the sergeant major now. Now, this is a very different and a very senior role to be in from where you first started.
Yep.
Did you have anything, like any ideas? Were you looking forward to the role when they told you we're going to make you sergeant major? It's a very influential position.
Looking forward to the role. Same as it always was. It was just, okay, that's what my job's going to be.
All right.
Let's get her done. It's like I said, do the best I can. You know, don't, you know, I like to think I learned how not to act as a sergeant major from some of the sergeant majors I had when I was in Charles Company as a private. Yeah, one in particular. But
is there any behaviors that you wouldn't want to redo that happened to you, for example?
I'd like to think I wasn't a lunatic.
Yeah.
This is what it is. We had some special people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, and it's been the same thing. Like, I've been fortunate enough to work with. How would you say it? I've been fortunate enough to spend most of my career with what I would consider to be some of the best guys in battalion.
Mm.
But at the same time, we've also had some of, and because it's that, you know, that it attracts a couple, you know, snipers attract a couple different types of people.
Like, what do you mean?
So it generally attracts, so you're going to get guys that just want to do their job, and they want to be good at their job, focus on the basics, do their thing, do the best they can, and pass on the knowledge to the next generation. And then there's been me and a couple of guys that I've worked with throughout my career, worked with closely. You know, that's kind of been you know, our whole goal, our whole intent was to get the next generation ready. Not badge protected. We all know enough of those guys. We all know enough of the guys that you know, think they're the greatest, think they're the best, but couldn't give two fucks about the next guy, you know, or the next generation, or set up the next guys for success. You know, just worry about their glory, and after their glory, fuck it, because they're moving on to bigger and better things. Yeah, so it attracts the guys that the professionals, the quiet professionals that just want to get the next crew ready, make it better for the next guys, the best we can. And so, you know, like I said, I got a couple guys that I hold very close to my heart, that have worked a lot of fucking hours with me to do the best we could. I'm not saying we got it all right, but, you know, you can ask those guys that. They can tell you if what I did fucking mattered. I can't tell you that. I'd like to think what I did mattered, and I'm pretty sure that we did move the community forward.
Yeah.
That's all I'm worried about. But now the other guys, you get, like I already mentioned, most of them. You know, you got the badge protectors. You got the guys that just want the tab. You know, I got the sniper tab. I'm a sniper. Fuck, look at me. But you know, they're not willing to put the effort in. They're not. You know, they don't want to go fucking man an OP for 48 hours. In the winter, you know, they're complaining all the time. They just want the glory. They want the title, and they want to be able to tell people what they're qualified, and that's it. So, yeah, I met too many of those guys.
I guess that's just like that. The one of those kind of people in the tribe.
That's it.
You know,
That's it.
And you'll find them everywhere.
Yep.
Whether you're in a rifle company,
They're
you're in
everywhere.
the army,
Everywhere.
society.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just people. I guess like being in the military, you learn a lot about people, and working with them, dealing with them. Yeah, I find it interesting. Like, to come from where we come, you growing up where you grew up is very different from me growing up in like the big city of Toronto. But we all get put into this place in Petawawa, and we all learn to like live with each other. Some better than others. And some are in roles where you gotta lead the tribe and make all these personalities work together. And at my level, it's like at the section. Like I say, your level's the company now. Do you find any difficulties being a sergeant major? Like, what do you find challenging about it?
The other sergeant majors.
Just personality conflicts. Yeah, just people.
So, the one thing I've enjoyed about the Army, what's it called? Experiential learning. We learn by doing. NCMs, we learn by doing our job. You know, you can take us to course. You go on the PLQ, fuck, whatever course you want to talk about. Any course, pick a course that we do. You know, for the leadership courses, we go on a course. We learn very little on the course. They're going to teach us try to teach us all these things. When it comes to the leadership stuff, especially for the Reg Force guys, we're going to learn very little from the course material, and we always have. We're going to learn, where we learn is from the other guys on the course, the other candidates on the course, because everybody comes from, you know, slightly different areas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and at the time, when I was doing the leadership courses, we had the guys from JTF, we had the guys from CSOR doing our leadership courses with us. You know, so like when I did my small arms, you know, there's a Dwyer Hill guy, and when I did, you know, whatever course, there's some CSOR guys. You know, we had CSOR guys come do other courses with us, and so for leadership stuff, generally speaking, from the course, you learn a couple little stupid acronyms and some checklists here and there, and a little bit about human dynamics, but nothing great, because we don't really teach it that well, because I don't think as an institution we understand it better as people, but not, the schools don't teach it well when it comes to, you know, motivating. We like to talk about it, but we don't really understand it and teach it as a school. But we learn it by doing it, by the experiential learning stuff. you know, by the time I did my Master Corporal's course, I kind of already knew what a Section 2IC was supposed to do. I kind of already knew what a section commander was supposed to do. So when it was my time to be the section commander, as a young corporal doing my PL or JLC at the time, I already knew what the sergeant's job was. Was I great at it? No, but I understood it enough to be able to pretend to be able to do it for a section attack or for, you know, my role in the defensive for a couple hours. And same thing as the Section 2IC stuff. You know, because by the time I did my JLC, you know, I've already done basic recce, I've already done basic sniper, so I'm understanding that stuff. You know, as a young corporal in the snipers, I'm got to think at the battalion, in the battalion context, not just a section. Like, I'm not worried about the section anymore. I'm worried about companies. I'm worried about what the battalion's doing. So I was fortunate enough to think, I don't say think higher, but have to think about things in a bit bigger of a picture and a bigger of a scale as I would have if I was just a ref company guy. Where, you know, I'm just worried about my section, you know, as a master corporal, and that's it. Or, you know, as a sergeant, worried about my platoon, you know, and that's it, ish. You know, for the most part, I'm not really too worried about, you know, what the other company's doing. I don't have to pay attention to what this company is and where that company's going to be on the attack. I just got to know where I'm supposed to be on the attack. So yeah. So by the time I did, you know, JLC, you know, I had a pretty good grip of what the battalion did. Did I really learn any leadership stuff from there? I don't think so. I think I already learned it, most of it, not all of it. I learned enough of it. Let's go with that. I learned enough of it at the time to get by being a private and paying attention to what the sergeants, the master corporals did, and then being a corporal, paying attention to what the sergeants, the master corporals did. Being a corporal and getting tasked to do master corporal stuff, you know, and at times getting tasked to do sergeant stuff. And then so by the time, you know, JLC was easy. You know, teach some classes, some weapons classes, you know, do a couple section attacks and some time in the defensive and a couple patrols and you're done. And then, you know, the next big leadership course is the Warrants course. And by then, you know, you've been a master corporal, you've been a sergeant. Now you're doing the Warrants course, and, you know, the Warrants course, they're testing you at the time, you know, how to be a platoon commander. You already knew how to be a platoon commander by the time you're a sergeant because you're working with the platoon commanders, and so when you're, you know, you already know what the job is. Now you're just going through a checklist and getting a tick in the box by some captain that's following you along and assessing you if you'd make a suitable platoon commander, and that decides if you're going to be a good platoon warrant or not. But we already knew how to be platoon warrants by the time we get there. We already know enough, you know, about being a leader in a battalion or in a platoon. By then, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? You know, and same thing as when I did Sergeant Major's course. Like, Sergeant Major course didn't drop any friggin' words of wisdom or anything to get me ready to be a Sergeant Major. It was more of a, yeah. But, you know, I joke about it, but, you know, the biggest thing I learned on my Sergeant Major's course was how to do pay stick drill. And it was Eric Leclerc that taught me that, and that was one of the best things I learned on the course, was how to do pay stick drill. It was one of the only things I actually learned on the course. Learned a few things from some of the other guys, but the course material itself, it was just just a check in the box, just to make sure that I understand the processes of a couple things, and to make sure that I understand how this is supposed to happen, so I don't completely fuck it up.
Yeah. And that's great, because it sounds like you're fortunate to have these experiences prior to getting up there or being exposed to these things.
And that's where, being in battalion, because I spent pretty much my entire career in battalion. And like I said, I did every rank level in one context or another in a company, in a rifle company. So I got to spend a lot of time with different sergeant majors, spend a lot of time with different a bunch of different platoon warrants, see all the other platoon warrants, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and get to see what works, what doesn't work, what platoons, which platoons having the hard time, who's got the right out of her warrant, who's got the good warrant, who's the troops that are always in shit, and you'd always see all that. And each platoon was the dynamics were drastically different. as is, each company, the dynamics of the company is different, and within the company, the platoons are different, and in the platoons, the sections are different. And then you go to the battalions. I've never been at the second, but I know between the first and the third, there are dynamically big differences between the two battalions.
Yeah, the culture.
The culture it's night and day. And I can't say which one's better. I know which one I prefer, but that doesn't mean it's better.
Right.
It's just I
It's
prefer.
what's your flavor?
I'm a light guy. I spent the majority of my career doing light infantry stuff, because at the end of the day, snipers, it's light infantry stuff. Small parties. You're generally getting to where you got to be. You're finding a way to get there. You don't have a dedicated vehicle. You don't have, we can't afford the manpower to drive a vehicle in there and have security on a vehicle. We're hitchhiking. We're getting rides we're getting dropped off. We're getting helicopter rides. However we can get there, we're figuring out a way to get there, and that's what the light infantry does. And we're out there on our own for extended duration. We have to be good with the radios, and we have to be good with all our stuff. Really good at the basics, because we don't have a vehicle to go grab some more batteries out of. The batteries are in my backpack. My antenna. If my antenna doesn't work, I don't have an amp. I got to figure out how to make my antenna work. Stuff like that. Field expanding antennas and whatnot. And you have to understand. How many batteries do I need to carry to get through this duration, and how much food, and you have to plan all your stuff because you're carrying it. You just don't have anything to fall back on like that, right? So you have to plan all that shit.
It seems like critical thinking, being self-reliant, definitely being organized, and team players what matters a lot when you're in these small group contacts, especially the critical thinking aspect. And for a private and corporal, I find that's really important, because sometimes you may not be necessarily challenged in your role, especially if you've been doing the same job repeatedly.
And that's where the old support platoons were nice too,
Yeah.
because everybody had a place to fit, and everybody had, their thing. They're like-minded individuals that were in a group together, doing something that they were all adept at, and that's what they enjoyed. For the most part, that's what they enjoyed. They enjoyed that challenge. Because not everybody needs the same challenge. Everybody needs a different challenge. And when you have multiple challenges and multiple experiences, and then that many more people can be challenged and be happy.
It's so interesting talking to you about this kind of stuff right now, because you can see it's evolving, like in terms of how the senior leadership is now in the military, and it's great, and it's very good for like the future generations having these conversations with you. Looking at your career right now, do you have any goals? Do you have any like
I have
professional
honestly never
personal goals?
in the Army.
Just in general right now?
Wow.
We can talk about professional goals.
Just to be happy. I don't want to start getting into my personal life's fucking a shit show. The Army, like I said, the Army's easy. My personal life isn't a complete train wreck. Don't get me wrong, but but I'm happy. And that's the one thing. I'm freaking happy. I do my thing. Surround myself with people that care about me, and I'm happy, and people that I care about. And to me, that's what matters when I'm not at work. And when I'm at work, do the best I can. Goals at work, I surpassed my goals, my professional goals, when I was a corporal. I was content, and everything was ticked off in the box. Everything since then has been bonus. I've never wanted to be, that guy. I've never wanted to sit in a seat. I never wanted to be the man. I just wanted just to get by, do the best I could, put my heart into the job at the task at hand. That's been it. And not do anything for glory, not do anything for points on my PER, my scrits. Just show up. This is what we got to do today, and do the best I could. I think that's been it. I've never.
Well, that's amazing, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's good for everybody to hear this, especially us young guys. Just to keep in mind for when we're leaders or senior leaders in the future. This whole project's been about trying to connect the new and the younger generations of soldiers with the senior veterans that still serve in the ranks, like yourself, and being in a position like we're in right now to share your experiences, your perspective, your attitude towards your career, being in the infantry, and just being in the battalions is great. I think it's important for the young guys to hear this stuff because we're hammering out these points like the basics. And I hear that from even professional athletes. They always hammer the basics.
Basics.
You talk to like an SF person, they say the same thing, and it's because it matters. It's the basics. Working in... Sorry, go ahead.
Everything we do in the infantry, that's why I love the infantry. It's easy. It's fucking easy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's the same. The only thing that changes is the actions on the objective. Everything else, all your prep, light or mech, either or, it's all the same. The tasks are slightly different, of course, but battle prep's continuous. Like everything you do should be battle prep. Like, and that's from PT to exchanging your kit, everything. Just think of it as battle prep. And especially when you're in the battalion, it's a little bit different when you get a chance to relax. When you go RSS, like now you're doing transport, and I know we can talk about that after when I think about that stuff, because I think that's very important. The RSS stuff, especially now, but it's everything's the same. You're always doing your battle prep, and then once you have a mission, then you can start getting specific to it, and then it's the infiltration. You got to get there. You got to get to the objective, and then you get to your RV. Then it depends on what it is. Then it changes slightly depending on what the task is. But once you're done your actions on the objective, and then you got to do, then you got to withdraw. You got to or move to wherever. You got to egress to wherever you're going to, and then it's get ready for the next one, and get ready for the next mission. But it's everything's it's all the same. It's easy. Whatever you're doing, whether we're going to go fill sandbags or we're going into combat, it's all the same thing. It's just the only thing that's different is the actions on the objective. We're gonna prepare to go there. We're gonna do all our prep, stay fit. Keep your shit ready, keep your head ready. Keep your family situation to where you can deploy, especially if you're in a battalion. To where you're deployable, so you can deploy on short notice. Go do whatever you got to do, fill the sandbags, whatever it is, fight fires, go overseas. Whatever has to be done. It's just, right now that's part of the problem right now is there's not a lot going on. There's stuff to do, but there's not a lot of work right now for us. So now,
Did this feel like the 90s when you first got in? Or is this even different?
To me, we've been getting busier and busier since I got in. And to when I left, it's been a year and a half now since I left battalion. We were relatively busy in the 90s. We were always on the go. It wasn't insane. And it's just, to me, it just felt like we've gotten busier and busier and busier and busier. But I think what the problem is there's less and less of us, but we still have the same amount of work to do. So it's not that we're really any busier. There's just less of us to do the work. So instead of sharing the work with 10 people, we're sharing the work with like 6 people. So those 6 people have a lot more work to do, and I think that's what's going on right now. I don't know for sure, but I also know, or it has felt like, depending who's in command at the time, both in the battalion and the brigade, because that affects the tempo of the unit drastically, and I know. And I don't know how many brigade commanders and battalion and commanding officers that I've gone through, or that I've been around for, I think would be the better way to say it. Some of them just have us insanely busy for no real reason, and then some of us, it's been reasonable, and it comes and goes, and it just goes with the individuals as to, whatever their motivations are as to how busy they think the brigade should be, or the battalion. and I know we've been, there have been times when we have been more busy than is reasonable, or than we should have been for considering what was going on at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do too much, sometimes it's at the detriment of everything we're
The
doing.
dudes are paying the price, and families are paying the
Yeah.
price if you're too busy for no reason. And if there's a reason, that's fine.
Right.
But if it's just because, you know, you think that we need to get sets and reps, and and you think we need to do more, at what cost, and why? Like we were fucking balls to the walls before COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and we were getting burnt out, and dudes were getting burnt out, and you can see it because they were starting to get in shit for stupid stuff, and then COVID hit, and at the time we were insanely busy, and I don't know why, and but
I guess COVID was like a blessing and a curse.
a bit of both, yeah,
Yeah.
at the time.
Well, look, sir, like we covered a lot from what it seems like in your career. We're pretty much caught up to where you are now, unless you want to mention where you're at right now.
No, not really.
But
No, career's good. I can't
yeah.
complain. I still got a few years left, I hope. 7 or 8 years left. I'm going to ride it out as long as I can. It's still interesting.
do you want to come back to a battalion?
I would come back to a battalion in a heartbeat if they asked me and if they told me I was coming back, I'd come back, no problem. Do I want to come back? I can't say I don't want to come back. I miss the guys. You always miss the guys whenever you're RSS, you know what I mean? There's obviously guys you don't miss,
Yeah.
but you miss the guys. You miss the family, you miss the dynamics, you miss the characters. Because like I said, just talk with the dudes, and they're gonna blow your mind. Like some of them, they'll pretty much all of them. If you can get them to open up, they'll blow your mind.
Yeah.
Some of the guys, they're pretty amazing freaking dudes. And some of the guys you're just gonna shake your head at. You'll just be amazed as to how simple some people can actually be. But that's all part of it, right?
Yeah.
And we all do special things. Everybody does stupid shit.
Yeah, no one's perfect.
But yeah.
Do you have any final words? We can start wrapping this up.
No, not really. I don't know.
We covered a lot. You shared a lot of good ideas. I mean, if you're a private or a young guy listening to this,
Well,
and
here, like even for you, you're Master Corporal still. Have you done small arms?
yes,
You're ready to be promoted to sergeant. You're down working with the reserves in Toronto.
actually, what do you think about the reserves? Do they play an important role?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. We don't use them enough. We don't.
How would you use them to support what's going on right now?
Well, there needs to be the clarification as to what the role is. And we need to take it serious. And the Army needs to take it serious at all levels. And there's a lot of talk. We've put a lot of resources recently into the reserves with the STARS program. There's the Strengthening the Army Reserve to get the reserves reinvigorated, I guess, for lack of a better term. Because when I was up in Sudbury, you could see it. There's a certain type of person that goes to the reserve, and they're generally doing it to help themselves out. Well, they're going to school, or they want some employment of some sort. Some people do it because they want to join the Army, but they don't want to join the Army, so they join the reserves, which to me is fine. I'll never say anything bad about a reservist as a reservist. I got nothing but time for them, and they do fill a valuable role. They need to be reinvigorated. We need to really look at to what the role actually is, and we have to get the right people into the places in the reserve units to where they have mentorship, they have direction, and they have people that understand what being in the Army is all about. In my opinion, could be right, could be wrong. My opinion, they've suffered for too long with people, and no part of their own, it's just the way that the system was set up, that didn't really understand what it meant to be a leader, what it meant to be in the Army, they showed up on their parade nights and they went with the flow. They, they did the PLQ. They're a sergeant in 6 years, if not sooner. Some of them are master corporals in 2 years, sergeants in 4. You hear all sorts of crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
But do they really? And then I've heard them. But the mentality is, there's no difference between a reserve sergeant and a reg force sergeant. You've heard it too. I've heard it. And most of them don't think that way. Most of them know better. But there's a surprising number of them that are brainwashed to think that that's the case, because that's what the guys they work with. Their sergeants have fucking fed them throughout their career. They don't know any better. It's not their fault. And the people that think that way, you can't hold that against them. They don't know better.
Mm-hmm. And it's a double-edged blade, because I find it's the same over here. We sometimes downplay the reservists a lot more than we should.
And I've met some really good reserve guys that have their shit wired down.
And that's where I find it's like it's about the people.
Force guys that shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the reserves, we don't celebrate them enough. We should use them more in the communities. The full-time summer employment thing, that's got to be looked at. I think it's a good idea, but in practice, it's not doing the best it could.
We're not maximizing it the best.
We're not getting the bang for the buck. Like we're I hear stories, and I know, like where I am, stories of kids doing the full-time summer employment thing. They spent the summer sitting around on the rucksacks, unfortunately, because there was nobody to do anything with them. Nobody
to plan anything for them to do.
All the NCOs in that unit, particular unit, that are gone doing something else.
Yeah.
So they're being supervised by junior leaders, and they don't know what to do because they're busy trying to just keep their heads afloat. So there's a lot that could be done. I think we have to look at how we're going to, it's a complex problem. But I don't think it's the party right now, because we have some other problems that are being addressed that are a higher priority right now, and they have to be addressed. And I'm not going to, stuff has to be sorted out. The reserves, they're not going nowhere. They do play a valuable role, and it's we get a lot of guys join the reg force from the reserves because like I said, the guys that join the reserves because they want to be in the Army, but they're not sure about being in the Army at the time. And they see that they like it, and they go away on taskings or whatnot, or contracts with the units. Realize, yeah, that's for me, and then they join the reg force, and it's always a win to see the young reserve guys, join the reg force, and see them in battalion. Mm-hmm. You walk in the hall, and there's this dude that you knew as a young reservist. You watch him do, in my case, watching guys do BMQ with the reserves on the weekends, and next thing you know, they're walking the halls of the battalion. So that's a win, getting new dudes to battalion through that. So
I know this project gets watched by reserves as well.
Yeah.
I know guys hit me up. They appreciate some of the guests who come on here, such as yourself, because some of them don't know much about us in the regs and the battalions coming from where they come from.
And that's the one thing, like where you are, you're doing transport sergeant, transport NCO for reserve unit. But I know the young guys, and I hope they're picking your brain, asking you lots of questions, and you're mentoring, and you're helping out the young guys, the other master corporals, the young corporals, and hopefully the sergeants aren't arrogant enough to not take your advice, and they're listening to you, because you're just as qualified as they are, for lack, in reality.
Man, I put some of those guys through DP1.
That's what I was gonna say, and you got probably way more time in the Army than they do. But just because they're a sergeant and you're a master corporal, or a warrant, and you're a master corporal, hopefully they're not that arrogant enough to you're just a master corporal with
Learning is a two-way relationship.
Yes. 100%. Like I said, I've learned. Like I said, I learned something from almost everybody that I interact with.
Yeah.
You always do.
Definitely.
Good and bad. So yeah.
Well, I think that's a good way to wrap this up.
You've had a long day.
Oh, yeah. And I really appreciate you making the drive to come down here.
It's nothing.
I mean, like,
Tried to
I
do
know
it.
you're saying it's nothing, but
Tried
still.
to do it last year. I'm just happy we finally got her done.
Yeah, me too. I'm hoping that if any time in the future, if we could have you back on one day, maybe later on down the road, maybe you might be out. We'll see.
It'd be a lot. It'd be a lot different conversation once I'm retired.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's because you got to watch what you say, right?
Yeah, the safety belt comes on when you're on here. Definitely.
No, and even then, like, but then the conversation could be potentially slightly different. And you can say things, but do you really want to? And it depends what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
And to what end? I can come on here and say, yeah, so and so, I can tell you some stories about guys doing some stupid shit, but to what end, right? It's not going to get us anywhere.
No, but I think this was a good talk. So again, sir, thank you so much for taking the time, and I really
Anytime.
appreciate it. And for anybody listening, we have MWO Tracy Hamilton on as our guest today. So I hope everyone learned a lot, just like I did. Some of the things to rehash here is definitely never overlook the basics. It's very important. It's a very important aspect of just getting better at life. Working as a team player, understanding that everyone has something to bring to the table, and everywhere there's a position for somebody. So learning how to maximize the strengths of your people.
That's a big thing right there.
Yeah.
And it goes like the old principles of leadership, and I couldn't rattle them all off my top of my head if I tried to. But one of them, know your troops and promote their welfare. That's one of the big things I've always tried to is care enough to take time to listen to their stories, and because if you show them the care, they'll come to you with problems. And I can't solve all their problems, but and I'll never pretend to. That's not my place. But I at least point them in the right direction to hopefully help them with their problems.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all up to them to take those steps too. But at least care enough to listen, give them somebody to vent to, and try to point them in the right direction to make their lives a little bit better.
Mm.
You're not going to solve all the problems in a day, or everybody. You're going to have issues and you're going to have problems, and stuff's going to be with you your entire life. But at least try to make it a little bit better for that day, and then it compounds from there, and then it goes from there. But yeah. But in order to get there, you also have to be able to recognize that in yourself, and to help take care of your own problems, and understand what you got to deal with and what you got to work on. So, yeah, I'm not perfect. I know I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes. So I just try not to keep making the same mistakes over and over again. So, but some of them you do because they're fun.
And we'll just end it there. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Right on, Connor. I think that's a wrap, buddy. Sweet. Woo. Thanks again, sir. So, yeah.